Hey guys, so in today's video I'm going to show you how to get a comfortable or even a slightly winning position against the Sicilian defense. Specifically, I'm going to cover the Rossolimo, the Closed, and the Open Sicilian, and let's get started. So the Sicilian defense is e4, c5. They're trying to take the center by playing c5. This is a very aggressive opening for black, and this is actually considered the opening that gives black the most chances to win. So it's obviously important to know how to play against it. So let's start with the open Sicilian. It's going to be knight to f3, and now they play knight to c6. Now after this there are two variations. They could either play d6 as well, but here, in order to initiate the open, you have to play d4, trading in the center. Now, if they take, you take with the queen, but usually the line goes as follows. Here, 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 and here. This is one of the lines. I'm going to cover many of them, but you're going to see patterns. You're going to start seeing patterns. This is another line. They could also play something like this. Generally you go here, but then after this we got this. This is kind of the line you see the most. This is what you need to play. Now there are a lot of options that they have here. There also is the Najdorf, so they're going to play knight here and then the Najdorf. This is actually real complicated, but you generally go bishop to c4, and from here on you're going to just develop your pieces on the normal squares castle, bring your rook to the center. And this is kind of the open Sicilian. You trade in the center, open, and after something like this you just develop usually the bishop on this square, but there are also lines like this where you just develop here, because otherwise there will be a lot of targets if you develop here. They could move the knight, they could play like this, and then move the knight somewhere else and attack your bishop. So this is called the Khan variation, and you place your bishop on e2. Now this is getting real complicated, but you have to see the patterns in order to learn this opening. So you develop both knights in the open, and then put your bishop either here or here. That's a good standpoint to already have. But obviously there are lines like the hyper accelerated dragon where they're trying to fianchetto, and you're going to either have to trade. You can trade here, and you're going to either defend like this or let your pawns be doubled. But from here, from such a position, let's go back into this one. So now we are going to jump right straight into the closed Sicilian. So here you're going to play like this. Now the first line that I'm going to show you, you may probably have heard of it already, but it's good to rehearse it. You go like this, and then after they attack you, you drop back. Usually the line is like this, so they cannot take, but you just drop back. They're going to fianchetto, like in the usual Sicilian, and after this, you are going to launch an attack with f3, and these pawns are now protected. Usually they go like this, but you just push. But you gotta be careful. This is not a good move. But you gotta be careful because there are a lot of possibilities here for them. You may sometimes want to go here. You may sometimes want to go a4. It depends on the position, but it would take way too long to analyze every single one of it. So here, it usually goes like this. And now you see all these pawns marching down the board on the king side here. You have all your pieces able to enter the battle like this. You can put your knight here, but usually your opponent is going to have trouble defending all of this, and if you turn on the engine, this is already +2 for white. So this is very strong, and your opponent has to be careful. Apparently this, but very few players are going to know this, and this is actually a very strong one if you want to play aggressive. So another type of closed is after this. You can go the Grand Prix attack. And now you're going to castle. I'm going to show you, wait. You're gonna play something like this. Let me turn the engine off. And after this, you castle. If they go here, you just carefully play king h1. And after they castle, you bring your queen to e1, and you start marching down the board like this. This is also another way to play. So let me show you again. Like this. If they go e6, you play the Magnus Sicilian. And if they go knight f6, knight c6, you play the Grand Prix attack. Now you can play the Grand Prix attack like this. This is another way to play this, but it's fine. Let's jump into the Rossolimo. So the Rossolimo is actually considered better than the open or the closed by the engine, but for humans it's most likely not going to make that big of a difference. So it's still the Sicilian, and it goes like this. You place your bishop here. So if they fianchetto, you take. There are a lot of ways for them to play this. They can either take like this or like this, but usually the fact is that this pawn is going to become weak, especially after they fianchetto. So usually if they take like this, you have to play h3 first. You never want to get your knight pinned. That is a big factor. So here you either castle or play d3. You want to reinforce on the wide squares because that's where you traded the bishop. So you can castle, let's say fianchetto, and you can either go like this. If they go here, you can just develop your knight to any square. You can also always target this pawn, which is going to be weak in the Rossolimo. And then after something like this, there are a lot of variation that you can play with bishop here. In fact, it's so in-depth that there are many lines. You can even play something like this. And top players are going to play this setup because it's really good, it's really solid, and you have a lot of tactics. You can even play something like h3, knight here, knight. Let me remember this. It was like this, right? Knight here, castle, and then here. And then you attack on this side, exactly. So the Rossolimo is very solid and at the same time somewhat aggressive. You can attack your opponent always. And this is a good setup to play. I recently started playing this and studied a little bit of the theory. I've only seen great results with this. People most likely are not going to know what to do exactly after the Rossolimo since it's not played that often. But it's interesting. There are also other ways to play the Sicilian, but these ones that I showed you in the video, you're going to have a solid repertoire to play against any opponent in the world. And if you stick to the opening principles that you know, don't hang any pieces, and don't fall for unpredictable traps that are actually quite rare in the setups that I showed you, you're going to be completely fine. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and then see you in the next video.